Okay, so I chose to analyze the movie The Silence of the Lambs, directed by Jonathan Demme. And if you haven't seen this movie, it's about this woman named Clarice who's training to be in the FBI, and she gets assigned to a case to catch a serial killer who kidnapped the senator's daughter. And in order to do this, she talks to another serial killer who's in jail named Hannibal Lecter. And in the scene that I chose to analyze, Clarice is trying to get information from Hannibal Lecter about the serial killer, but he doesn't want to give it to her unless she tells him about her past. So, here's the scene.
What did you do?
I went downstairs, outside. I crept up into the barn. I was so scared to look inside, but I had to.
What did you see, Clarice? What did you see?
Lambs. They were screaming.
They were slaughtering the spring lambs,
They were screaming.
and you ran away?
No. First I tried to free them. I opened the gate to their pen, but they wouldn't run. They just stood there, confused. They wouldn't run.
But you could, and you did, didn't you?
Yes. I took one lamb and I ran away as fast as I could.
Where were you going, Clarice?
I don't know. I didn't have any food, any water, and it was very cold. It was very cold. I thought if I could save just one, but he was so heavy. It was so heavy. I didn't get more than a few miles when the sheriff's car picked me up. Rancher was so angry, he sent me to live at the Lutheran orphanage in Postman. I never saw the ranch again.
What became of your lamb, Clarice?
I killed him.
You still wake up sometimes, don't you? You wake up in the dark and hear the screaming of the lamb.
Yes.
And you think if you save poor Catherine, you could make them stop, don't you? You think if Catherine lives, you won't wake up in the dark ever again to that awful screaming of the lambs.
I don't know. I don't know.
Thank you, Clarice.
Okay, so this scene has a lot of rhetorical devices in it, but I'm going to talk about three that stood out the most to me. I'm going to talk about the symbolism, the repetition, and the cinematic techniques that all help create the mood of the scene and help evoke the audience's emotions. So the main reason I chose this scene is because of the symbolism in it. The lamb is a common symbol of innocence, and in the scene, Clarice talks about how she wasn't able to save the lamb and how she can still hear the screaming of the lambs, like in her nightmares, to this day. And she thinks that maybe she'll gain gratification if she's able to save the senator's daughter, Catherine, because she'll finally be able to save the innocent figure of the lamb, which is the senator's daughter, and silence the lambs in her nightmares. So another thing I noticed was the repetition throughout the scene. Clarice repeats certain phrases like, "It was so cold, it was so cold," and when she talks about the lamb, she repeats how he's so heavy when describing her experience trying to save the lamb. And I think this helps with overall imagery of the scene, which also helps evoke the audience's emotions. By creating the image of a young girl trying to save an innocent lamb, it causes the audience to feel sympathetic and have a better understanding of what she was going through in that moment. I also think the repetition helps emphasize Clarice's struggles when she was trying to save the lamb, which makes her more vulnerable to the audience and helps create pathos. So the last thing I'm going to talk about are the cinematic techniques used to help set the mood of the scene. Throughout the scene, the music seems to intensify and becomes more suspenseful, which contributes to the dark and ominous mood. And also the close-ups of the characters' faces throughout the scene allow you to see all of the characters' emotions and really focus on what they're saying. And that's it.